Right now, as you're watching this video, entire towns in Europe are being swallowed by fire. Not a wildfire. Not one bad summer. We're talking about over 250,000 hectares burned in just a few months, an area bigger than the entire country of Luxembourg, and it's not even August yet. That's normally when things get worse. Spain just recorded the largest wildfire in its entire history. 14 people are already dead. Over 350,000 people have had to run from their homes with nothing but what they could carry. And this video is going to show you exactly what's happening, why it's happening, and then take you back through the 5 deadliest, most devastating forest fires the world has ever seen. Because trust me, what's happening in Europe right now has some terrifying company in the history books. Stick around till the end, because fire number 1 on this list killed more people in a single night than almost any natural disaster in modern history, and there's a solid chance you've never even heard of it. Let's get into it. Okay, so let's start with what's actually going on this summer, because the numbers are genuinely hard to wrap your head around. According to satellite monitoring from the Europe's Forest Fire Information System, that's the system Europe uses to track wildfires from space, the 2026 fire season has already burned more than 250,000 hectares across European countries. To put that in perspective, that's roughly the size of an entire small country. And here's the scary part. The fire count so far this year is running at more than double the historical average, and we haven't even hit peak summer yet. August is usually when things get the worst. Spain has been hit the hardest. According to reporting on the ground, the country has now recorded its largest wildfire ever documented. Just think about that for a second. Spain has dealt with wildfires for centuries, and this year broke every previous record. At least 14 people have died on Spanish soil alone, and that number, sadly, is the kind that tends to climb as searches continue. Then there's France. Fires have torn through the south, forcing mass evacuations, and even triggering shutdowns of nuclear reactors during the heat wave because the rivers used to cool them got too warm. Let that sink in. The heat got so extreme that it started interfering with nuclear power plants. Across Spain and France combined, more than 350,000 people have been displaced. That's not a typo. 350,000 human beings who had to grab their families, their pets, whatever they could fit in a car, and just leave. Whole holiday resorts have been emptied out midsummer, right in peak tourist season, which is also devastating local economies that depend on that income. And it's not just Spain and France. Portugal, Greece, Italy, Turkey, and parts of the Balkans are all now considered high risk as the heat keeps climbing. Scientists are actually using a new term for what's happening. They're calling it fire weather synchronicity. Basically, that means multiple countries are catching fire at the exact same time, which spreads emergency resources incredibly thin because you can't send every firefighting plane to every country at once. And speaking of resources, the European Union has actually deployed its largest wildfire response in history for this exact reason. We're talking over 20 firefighting aircraft, helicopters, and more than 750 firefighters pulled in from over a dozen different countries, all pre-positioned before the worst of the season even hit. Crews have come from as far as Czechia, Croatia, Germany, Sweden, and Turkey just to help battle blazes in France and Spain. That's how serious this has gotten. It's not just a local emergency anymore. It's a full continental mobilization. So why is this happening? It really comes down to a brutal combination of 3 things: repeated heat waves, extreme drought, and strong dry winds. Add all 3 together, and you get what firefighters call the perfect conditions for what's known as a megafire. A fire so large and fast-moving that it essentially creates its own weather system, generating winds and even lightning that spread the flames even further. And according to climate researchers, this isn't a one-off. Europe has now had several of its worst fire seasons on record within just the last few years. It's not one bad summer anymore. It's becoming a pattern. Now here's the thing. As devastating as this year has been, it's honestly not even close to the worst forest fires humanity has ever seen. And I think looking back at history actually helps put what's happening right now into a much scarier perspective. So let's go through it. These are, according to fire historians and disaster researchers, 5 of the most catastrophic forest fires ever recorded. Before we jump in, if you're new here, hit subscribe now, because I promise you the story at number 1 is one of the most insane, tragic events in history that almost nobody talks about. Okay, let's count them down. Let's start in Canada, in the summer of 2014. Over the course of just a few months, more than 150 separate fires broke out across the Northwest Territories, way up in northern Canada. Around a dozen of them were actually started by people, but the rest were sparked by lightning, and once they got going, The dry conditions let them explode in size almost instantly. By the time it was all over, nearly 8.5 million acres of forest had burned to the ground. To put that into perspective, that's roughly the size of a small European country, just gone, turned to ash in one fire season. But here's the part that really gets me. The smoke didn't just stay in Canada. It traveled. Air quality warnings were issued not just across Canada, but all the way down into the United States. And get this, smoke from these fires was actually visible as far away as Portugal, on the other side of the Atlantic Ocean. A wildfire in northern Canada was thick enough to be seen from Western Europe. That's the scale we're talking about. Firefighting operations for this disaster cost the Canadian government tens of millions of dollars, and it's considered, according to environmental researchers, one of the worst fire seasons recorded in that region in almost 3 decades. Now let's go back further, way further, all the way to 1825. This one's called the Miramichi Fire, and it's actually considered the largest wildfire ever recorded in North American history. It tore through an estimated 3 million acres of forest, mostly in New Brunswick, Canada, but it didn't stop at the border. The flames actually pushed down into the state of Maine in the US as well. Remember, this is 1825. No satellite tracking, no fire departments with modern trucks and planes, no early warning systems. People in small logging towns had almost no way to see this coming, and even less way to escape it once it started moving. The death toll is estimated at least 160 people, though historians believe the real number could be higher since record-keeping in remote frontier communities back then was nowhere near what we have today. Entire settlements were wiped off the map in a matter of hours. What's wild about this fire, looking back, is how much it foreshadowed what we're still dealing with 200 years later: a hot, dry summer, dense forest acting like fuel, and a spark that turned into something completely unstoppable once the wind picked up. This one has a nickname that tells you everything you need to know: the Big Blowup. In August of 1910, over the span of just two days, a wildfire tore through nearly 3 million acres of forest across Montana and Idaho in the United States. 2 days to destroy an area that size is almost unthinkable. According to fire historians, the conditions leading up to it were a textbook disaster recipe: a bone-dry spring and summer, followed by severe lightning storms, followed by extremely high winds that basically turned small fires into one massive, unified firestorm. 87 people died, and tragically, most of them were firefighters, men who ran straight into the blaze trying to stop it, and simply got overtaken by how fast it moved. And here's something genuinely fascinating. This fire actually changed U.S. wildfire policy forever. After the Big Blowup, the government adopted a strategy of putting out every single wildfire as fast as possible, no exceptions. But here's the twist. Scientists now believe that policy may have actually made modern wildfires worse, because it allowed forests to grow denser and build up way more natural fuel over the decades that followed, which is part of why fires today burn even hotter and faster once they do start. So in a strange way, this fire from over a century ago is still shaping the fires we're watching burn across Europe and North America today. Now, this next one might be the most staggering entry on this entire list in terms of pure size, even though most people outside of Russia have probably never heard of it. In the summer of 2003, during one of the hottest summers Europe and Asia had experienced up to that point, a series of absolutely massive fires tore through the Taiga forests of eastern Siberia. And when I say massive, I mean it. According to environmental researchers, these fires destroyed over 55 million acres of land. 55 million. For comparison, that is roughly 10 times bigger than the total amount of land Europe has burned so far this entire 2026 season. One region, one fire season, 10 times worse than what's making global headlines right now. The scale was so enormous that the smoke plume affected air quality readings across huge stretches of the northern hemisphere. Because the taiga is so remote and sparsely populated, the human death toll wasn't as catastrophic as some other fires on this list, but the ecological damage was almost incomprehensible. We're talking about one of the largest carbon releases from a single natural disaster ever recorded, and an environmental scar that, according to climate scientists, likely took decades to even begin recovering from. It's a brutal reminder that some of the worst disasters in history don't happen where the cameras are pointed. And now, the one I promised you at the start of this video. the deadliest wildfire ever recorded in human history. And here's the wildest part. Most people have never even heard of it, because it happened on the exact same night as one of the most famous disasters in American history, and that other fire completely stole the headlines. October 8th, 1871. A small logging town called Peshtigo, Wisconsin. For days, small fires had already been burning in the area, some of them deliberately set by settlers trying to clear land for farming, which was actually a common practice at the time. Then, a cold front rolled in, bringing brutal fast winds. And in what witnesses described as almost instantaneous, those scattered small fires merged into one single, massive firestorm. According to historical accounts, the town of Peshtigo was essentially wiped off the map within hours. About 800 people died in the town itself. But when you include the surrounding areas that were also consumed, historians estimate the total death toll reaches somewhere between 1,200 and, in the worst estimates, as high as 2,400 people in a single night from a forest fire. To put that into perspective, that is a higher death toll than most hurricanes, most earthquakes, most modern natural disasters that make global news for weeks. So why haven't more people heard about it? Because on that exact same night, October 8th, 1871, the Great Chicago Fire broke out, roughly 250 miles south. Chicago was a major American city, and its fire became one of the most talked about disasters in the country's history. Meanwhile, Peshtigo, a small rural logging town, quietly became the deadliest wildfire in recorded history and largely faded from public memory. There's a small museum in Peshtigo today dedicated to the victims, and a memorial where many of them are buried, some in mass graves, because there simply weren't enough survivors left to identify everyone or bury them individually. It's honestly one of the most tragic, forgotten disasters in history. And when you look at what's happening in Spain and France right now, entire towns being evacuated, people running for their lives from walls of flame. Peshtigo is the terrifying reminder of what happens when a fire like that catches a town that has nowhere left to run. So here's the thing that connects all of this. Every single fire on this list, the big Blowup, the Miramichi Fire, the Siberian Taiga fires, Peshtigo, they all had one thing in common. Extreme heat, extreme drought, and wind that turned a fire from contained to unstoppable in a matter of hours. Sound familiar? Because that is exactly what scientists are describing in Spain and France right now, this summer, in 2026. The difference is, today we have satellites, early warning systems, and coordinated international firefighting response. Resources nobody in 1871 or 1825 could have ever dreamed of. And even with all of that modern technology, 14 people are already dead in Spain, and 350,000 people have had to evacuate their homes. Imagine for a second what a fire like Peshtigo would look like if it happened today in a densely populated part of southern Europe without those resources. That's genuinely a sobering thought. And it's part of why fire scientists keep sounding the alarm every single year. Because these events are not staying in the past. They're becoming more frequent, and in some cases, more intense than ever before. I know this was a heavy video, but I think it's important to actually understand the scale of what's happening, both right now in Europe and throughout history, instead of just scrolling past another headline about wildfires without really grasping it. If this video actually taught you something, do me a favor and hit that like button. It genuinely helps this video reach more people who need to see it. And if you want more deep dive breakdowns like this one on real disasters, real history, and what's happening in the world right now, hit subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next one. Drop a comment and let me know, had you ever heard of the Peshtigo Fire before this video? I'm willing to bet most of you hadn't, and that honestly says a lot about how history remembers disasters. Thanks for watching. Stay safe out there, and I'll see you in the next one.